take you back to Nasrec now, where my colleague Bradan Moyane is live for us there at the Expo Centre. Of course, this is day 4, Bradan, of the 55th ANC elective conference, and this time, at least today, after a long delay, we know who the top 7 is.
Yeah, finally we know that, and sooner, or very soon, I guess tomorrow morning, we'll know who has made it to the one of the 80 members of the National Executive Committee. Masiko, good afternoon again and welcome. We are live to you, of course, from Nasrec. It's been raining on and off, but for now it has stopped. We don't know what's the significance of the rain. Now, Masiko, as we know, the guessing game is over. As you've been telling our viewers over the last 2-3 hours, the ANC delegates have chosen to retain Matamela Cyril Ramaphosa as the president of the organization. But there's a new deputy president in town, a new sheriff for that position in town, so to speak. That's Paul Mashatile. And Fikile Mbalula making it to the Secretary General's office. And for the first time in its history, the ANC has 2 deputy secretary generals. That's going to be very interesting as well. And for the first time, they've got a woman who's heading up the purses as the Treasurer General. But with me in studio, I'm joined by TK Pooe, our analyst. TK, we've been looking at the meaning or how we can interpret, as we've been analyzing the last couple of hours, of this top 7. What does it mean and what happened and what? Let's just shift our focus a little bit now and say this top 7, how should the external world, the world out there that's been observing this, you know? I mean, we know that even foreign media has been covering this 55th National Conference. I mean, how should this top 7, what does it look like? I mean, what does it mean for the outside world, including the markets, for example?
Yes, well, look, Redan, I think if you paid attention, as you said, to the news outlets, especially your more Western ones, while they acknowledge that, look, there is a seeming new broom coming through, they still have questions. And one of the questions they have, for instance, on the President Ramaphosa is still his Phala issue. So that's something which he really does need to address. And it'll be interesting to see how now this top 7 particularly addresses that issue. But on the wider market, you're quite right to say the market, the rand did go up. It was positive, but I think you'll probably see in the coming few months it's going to rebound, and they're going to start asking questions such as, okay, in the first term you were always speaking about, or those that were close to you were speaking about your hands being tied. You almost have a free hand. Can you deliver? And I think they're probably going to give him around 2 years to really see, are you different in what you're doing?
Does he have 2 years? Because 18 months from now, plus minus, we're going to have the general election.
And that for me probably is a bigger issue. And that I say it's not 2 years because I think there's nothing, we can guarantee you this, there's nothing in government that's going to happen next year which is dramatic. ESCOM is not going to stop, and many other problems are not going to stop. So the reason I say 2 years is because I think the market is a bit of a fair player. They do try to give people, you're right in saying it's going to lead up to the election. But I think the bigger issue, which is something not really being discussed, as you're saying, is does this change the perception of non-ANC members across the country?
Especially around issues like Ramaphosa has been accused of being an indecisive leader. He over-consults, he doesn't take action, he takes too long to come to decisions, for example. Now he's got another 5 years at the helm of the ANC, which is vying to maintain or retain power in 2024.
Exactly, and so he cannot be himself, so to speak, because I think we can now say this with confidence. It's his personality. He likes to kind of overthink. He likes to make sure that he knows every card and then eventually get to it, but he's not going to be given that much time. So for me, I still see the ANC having a problem going forward, which is to say, what new message is this top 7 going to communicate? Yeah,
I had some delegates speaking to some of our reporters, the likes of Pooe Jones, Faith Daniels, and Spamandla Goke a little bit earlier. Some of the delegates saying the Secretary General's office now is going to energize us because we've got Mr. Razmataz coming in there.
And I think that's probably the right and the wrong way to look at it. Right in that, yes, that office does need energy. And here we're speaking about, if the ANC, I don't believe in renewal. I always say the ANC, you can't renew that which is dead. You need to speak about modernization. But now the question is, modernization requires skills. Now, if we have to look at the track record of Mr. Fikile Mbalula as a minister, and here we're speaking trust and other issues, has it really been that impressive? And can you now take on an organization where, yes, look, he won, and good on him that he won, but there's going to be people asking, listen, can you get us ready for 2024? Can you sort out delays and things like that?
That's the key question, because externally, how do you think an ordinary South African will be reacting to this top 7 that we know? We don't know about the ANC, that's still coming, but they'll be looking at this and say, oh, okay. And how do you think, as we lead towards the elections generally, and with the current challenges, as you correctly say, TK, they're not going to go away tomorrow just because we have a new leadership in the ANC?
I think most South Africans have reached a point to say, especially when it comes to the ANC, is we no longer say we wait and see. We've sort of baked it in. Like I said, for me, it was not the issue of 2024. I think we've spoken enough to say I'm not a big believer in 2024. I think whatever's happened has been baked in. South Africans are tired. So I don't think anything changes. For me, it's 2029, which is a bigger question. If the ANC cannot show that change now, they're gone in 2029.
Yeah, Gwen Ramaphosa is the first woman ever to be Treasurer General. I must say, I saw that as a surprise, particularly because she was nominated from the floor. We had 3 different candidates, and one of them, I think it was Zondile Masina, at the last minute saying, no, I'm standing down, and with Pooe and Pooe Mabe, and that strategy didn't work. It was actually too late.
Yes, because especially if you look at the votes that could have gone to Mr. Pooe, he could have actually won. So it really does show you that there was a mistake on their part. But I think it's a positive development, but it also shows you the power of Gauteng. And how Gauteng, if you really look at who's there, Gauteng seems to have come out with roses, basically.
Yeah, and now that you say it, we've got Paul Mashatile as the deputy president. You've got Nomvula Mukonyane as one of the, she's from Kagiso, yeah, and that's Gauteng, as one of the deputy secretary generals. You've got Gwen Ramaphosa from Tshwane. She's now the treasurer general. That's part of Gauteng.
And the president, who does come from Soweto, even though he's got links.
Yeah, well, he comes from Chawelo. we can claim the Sowetans can claim him, yeah, rather. Yeah. So do you think this composition, the top 7, will enable what you were saying earlier, enable Ramaphosa to pursue and more boldly his agenda?
I'd answer it like this. It now basically puts the ball back in his court to say, do it, rather than anything else, because the action is still going to have to come from him. And look, I don't think overnight you become decisive. If it's your nature, it's your nature. So, but what it basically says to him now is to say, the shackles are off, can you perform?
Or the rest of the colleagues there on the top 7 should be putting pressure, for example, to say, we need decisions on this thing, can we move?
Exactly, and obviously now the bigger question comes to say, is this top 7 now going to translate into a reshuffle after the January 8th speech in 2023? Yeah.
Finally, TK, for this analysis here, I know later you're going to be staying on. Tula Sizwe is coming up from 4 o'clock here at Nasrec. Were you surprised that Gwede Mantashe survived the chairmanship?
The ultimate survivor. That man he's Rocky 1, Rocky 2, Rocky 3. So in a way, I was, but I think once we heard the president was going to be around, he knew that, look, I need this guy to be behind me.
Yeah, and he's been a staunch supporter of the president, internally and externally, particularly around the Palapala issue, which, as you said, in the foreign world out there, they are looking at it, and it's like that stain that's hanging next to Ramaphosa.
Yes, right. That he is, but he always said this himself. He's not so much for the individual, he's for the office. Because remember, he was doing the same thing for Mr. President Jacob Zuma. So at least you can say he's consistent in that he protects the office. So he's one of those people that if you're going to a fight, you need him.
Thank you very much. TK Pooe there, just wrapping up for this hour, his analysis and insights.